free agents, and I'll do kind of like the second tier of guys. Like in the draft, there are 7 rounds in the draft. So we have someone in our pro personnel department that'll do maybe the 6th or 7th rounders. I'll do the mid-round picks, and he'll do the first one. This year I did our 5th round, Nick Harris, and I did our 2nd round pick, Jarris Bird, which right now looks like quite a bargain, actually. He's producing, if you've been following at all. He's the guy who leads the NFL in interceptions, and all he's getting for leading the team was $75,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not comparatively. So he's got good days ahead of him. But his rookie contract, which is a 5-year deal, we're on the winning end of that one right now for sure. But his agent is a man named Eugene Parker, who is a super agent. At least he would, be self-proclaimed to say that. He's a very nice man, but he represented some names you might know. I don't mean to throw all these names out here, but Jason Peters, a guy who played with us and is famous or notorious, I should say, for holding out for 9 months and not playing because he wanted a better contract. Eugene Parker represented, who else did he represent? Well, currently Larry Fitzgerald, Hines Ward, some good guys, good players. But he also represented a receiver for the 49ers named Michael Crabtree. Okay, so you know him. He's the only rookie this year who not only skipped all of training camp, but he didn't sign until a month into the regular season because Eugene Parker actually argued, unprecedented, that Michael Crabtree should have been paid more as the 9th pick, or was he the 10th? He was the 9th, than the 7th pick, the guy the Raiders signed. And it's just, you can't do that. But they finally came to terms. But anyway, when I was assigned to do Bird's contract and work with Parker, I knew it was going to be a challenge. And the hardest part about the rookie contracts, that it would seem like they're set in stone, but there's something called a rookie pool. Every team's only allowed to pay the rookies so much. You can think of it as kind of like a pie. The guys picked earlier get a bigger slice of the pie, and the guy in the 7th round gets a smaller slice. But there's a lot of wiggle room within those picks. So a guy like Parker just dismisses the whole idea as, doesn't even want to hear about it. But it's a real reality when you're doing a contract. He represented, if you want to go way back, he represented Emmitt Smith and Deion Sanders too. But I just think of that. He's not a small timer. But what was good with him is if you establish trust with him early. In other words, if you say you're going to call back or write back, you do it, even if it's bad news. You write him back. That way you establish credibility, and he believes you. So later on, if he's in his car driving somewhere and you see that Carolina just signed their guy, and you can kind of cherry pick through their deal and say, oh, hey, Carolina didn't give their guy injury protection or this incentive, and you can catch him away from his computer. You can kind of tell him all those parts that help you out, and then you can make a lot of progress. I think, ironically, probably the best progress I had with him was outside a pizza shop in the Southgate Plaza on my cell phone. He called, and we hammered it out for about a half hour, but you just have to be ready all the time when you're doing that. On a different note, another contract negotiation story I could think of that I'll always remember is we had a pick last year in the draft, and this player was represented by an agent who my boss didn't know, except he knew that he also represented a player in the league named Pac-Man Jones. And Pac-Man Jones, here's some Snickers, not a good guy. He's been arrested for having a gun at a nightclub and some drug problems. He's out of the league now, but a lot of off-the-field issues. So my boss he wasn't in the mood to deal with a guy who he assumed was going to be, if he has a problem client, he is probably a problem agent too. And I got that deal done in like a day. It was about the easiest contract I ever did, and I don't tell my boss. They still think it was hard, and I had to really work hard to do it. So that's our secret. So, but anyway, it did all start at Houghton for me. I had the business internship in my senior year, and I was talking to Professor Bates. So internships weren't required at the time, but they were encouraged, and I can't say enough about them. And Professor Hallberg was asking people who were going into the internships, what are you interested in pursuing? And without batting an eye, I told him I always had an interest in pro sports, and he said, well, it's funny, I've been thinking about trying to get somebody in with the Bills or the Sabres or the Bisons, and He said, what do you think? I said, oh, I'll think about it. Okay. And got me an interview, and it worked out from there. And I worked in the ticket office. And the thing you have to remember about an internship is you're there, the value of an internship is being there, working as hard as you can, but it's not in what you do, it's what you observe. So what I did was basically help sell tickets. An 80,000-seat stadium, there was no such thing back then as the internet. So I'm really dating myself, but we're talking about in person and by phone. I mean, it was a lot of work, so I worked as hard as I could. And I think it was 30 hours a week. You work 30 hours a week for college credit. And I might have put too many hours in, because I think I remember getting a C in the finance class when it was, it was a hard class. But I could have studied a little more, I know. But there's really nothing glamorous about the work. But I remember having people screaming at me with ticket problems. The guy wanted to come right through the ticket window at me before security took him away. And I remember another guy, I turned my back for a minute and he stole $50 cash that was there. And I couldn't prove it, but I know he did it. And so I learned a lot about dealing with the public. And that's the real value. And you have to understand your role as an intern. You're at the bottom of the totem pole. And you can't assume that you're entitled to anything that the full-time employee gets when you're there, even if they're passing out Christmas cookies. Nope. I mean, you just don't. And then I think people there appreciate, if you have that approach, they really appreciate, they want to help you out. If they see that you're not presuming things, then they want to help you out, and it just works in your favor. But Houghton's business department most definitely prepared me very, very well. I mean, it taught me very sound business principles and skills, but I think more importantly, the overall atmosphere at Houghton and philosophy really stressed the value of becoming a complete person. And I think that the theme is the skills will help you get a job, but it's character that helps you keep the job. And I think Houghton, whether they phrase it that way or not, that's what they try to instill in every student. And it's something to remember. But speaking of character, I've told you what I've done with the Bills, some of my responsibilities and job duties, but just as important as things I've done are things that I've observed from being there. Observing people. Maybe one thing that stands out, there's a player that we signed, and when I talk about character, like Marv Levy always said, don't confuse personality with character. A lot of people have a lot of personalities, but that doesn't mean they have character. But there was one player that really did. He stuck out in my mind. His name was Billy Brooks, and he was signed in 1993. We're going way back, but prior to him signing, he came from the Colts. He had been their leading receiver ever in their history. Marvin Harrison's broken most of his records since, but he was their leading receiver, so it was a really good free agent pickup. And he played great in 93 and in 94, but in 95, the cruelest thing was happening to Billy. He was getting older. So the team drafted, like they would, that would be normal, a young hotshot receiver out of college to ultimately replace him as a starter. And Billy knew, I mean, you could see the writing on the wall that this kid was being groomed to take his job, but during training camp, he knew it was going to be a battle just to make the team. The team brings in usually 10 receivers, and 6 are going to make the team. So there was one preseason game I remember.